This week on Rockstar Superhero. Dirty Shirt is a never-ending surprise of musical expression and disparate sonic influences. They are a wild ride down a folksy metallic hardcore road, and you don't really want out of the vehicle because it has so much horsepower. I was absolutely blessed to connect with chief songwriter Mihai Tivadar, and we had a fantastic discussion about the bonkers music he and his bandmates create. Dirty Shirt has been a fixture on the European festival circuit for years, yet has never set foot in North America. We really need to do something about that, and after you hear their music in this interview, I'm sure you'll agree. Without further ado, this is my new buddy, Mihai Tivadar, of the massively popular Romanian cult group Dirty Shirt, and this is Rockstar Superhero. What's it like in Eastern Europe right now with the issues surrounding the war in Ukraine?
Of course, the people are feeling very concerned about the war in Ukraine because we are neighbors. Yeah. We are facing every day thousands and thousands of refugees. So it's a human disaster, of course. And the people are also feeling more involved because the danger is really close to us. You know, for example, Dirty Shirt, the region of the band, it's in Romania, northwest of Romania, only 20 kilometers from Ukraine. So obviously, we feel a little bit concerned about all this.
20 kilometers? Really?
Yes.
So the band is not from Bucharest, obviously. That's the assumption everybody makes, is the big city is where the bands come from, but that's not.
We are really in the extreme of Bucharest. We are in the extreme northwest of the country, near the Hungarian and Ukrainian border. But in our in the west part of Ukraine, it's calm. It's okay from this point of view.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm so sorry you guys are going through that, but
for us it's okay. For us it's no problem. We have nothing more to do than other countries. Only that we are concerned.
Yeah, but still, that concern is very unsettling. And I have friends in Ukraine, actually in Kyiv, who are hiding in basement warehouses and things like this, and it's very, very difficult to know they are suffering over there while I'm worried about what am I going to have for dinner tonight, you know?
We are thinking the same thing because in Romania, it's it's a European EU country, it's a NATO country, so we are feeling safe. Of course, the first couple of days, the stress was high in the country. I was there in that moment, but it was obvious after several days that at least in short term, Putin won't attack a NATO country.
Yeah. So what took you personally to France? Was it just the quality of life was better there, or were you drawn by, a significant other or family?
It was a mixture of things. When I left Romania, it was in the beginning of 2000. It was the time when it was the worst period for Romania. After the 10 years after the revolution, economic problem and social problems were at the highest level. So it was a part of the thing. But also, secondly, I came here first as a student with the exchange student program, Erasmus, if you know the European program. So I came here for 6 months, then I continued the studies with a master, and then a PhD, and then a postdoc. So the years were passing, and finally I'm still here.
Yeah, that's amazing. So then with all of that intelligence, all that musical intelligence that's been forced into your head over the last 20 years, when you're not playing with Dirty Shirt, are you teaching? Are you, what do you do when you're not playing music, basically?
My main job is I'm a researcher in economics, but also I'm teaching at university.
Wow.
And meanwhile, I do music with my band.
Yeah. That's a great trade-off, my friend.
Yeah, I'm lucky to have two jobs finally, and both jobs are passions because I love music, but I also love science. So it's good to do both.
What I love about Dirty Shirt is that it's anything but predictable. It's multi-genre, aggressive in all its attempts to try new things. And I'm curious, how does that form? How do you guys decide as a collective, hey, we want to try all these different things and you're all on the same page? How?
It was, I think, a long-term process. The band started in 95, so we have 27 years old already. We were really young at the time, of course, and it was in Romania just after the communist fall. So there wasn't a movement. There were no venues, no management, nothing before internet, etc. And we start as a progressive alternative band, so really, really different than what we are doing now.
Yeah.
And with this small scene, but we were quite good for that period. We played several festivals at that time in Romania, who were contest festivals, so we had prizes and this kind of things. And after that, when I went to France, the band just were in a break for 3-4 years, I think, something like this.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I think that the French culture influenced me a lot. And I started to learn also by organizing a festival in France with bands from Romania in France. So we started to have contacts with French bands. We toured with them, and we learned a lot from them. So I think that the main sound of Dirty Shirt is a very Frenchy metal sound. If you know bands such like Playmo, Mass Hysteria, FFF, or things like this, I think influenced a lot our sound. But when we made the project, we took, I think, 5 or 6 years when we made several demos and we tried a lot of things. Our motto, credo, was to try anything, to not make auto-censure, censure. So in time, we started to add more and more things. And finally, we started to add also traditional music from Romania. And all this constructed so in a long time.
With this world in this moment, especially with the potential for war at your doorstep, is this a good time to write songs? And if so, what are you writing about right now?
And now we are just finishing the new album, so I think I will take a break of a couple of months of writing new songs because it will be the tour also after almost 2 years of break. But I think that always is a good time to make music if you are passionate by music, as is my case. So I cannot imagine a period of more than 2 months without writing new songs, new ideas. They are coming, And especially when you are in trouble times like the war now in Ukraine or the pandemic before or still,
yes.
This situation can also inspire you as an artist, and is also an échappatoire. How do you say in English? An exit.
I don't know. I don't know.
An exit.
Oh, okay.
An escape, where you can express yourself. So I think, at least for me, this period, music, it was also for a very important help for me.
Yeah, I think the word we use is catharsis. It's the idea of getting those feelings out of you, right?
Because this is true.
Right, because that period of time, especially COVID, it's like we've been in jail, and then once we get out of jail, everybody wants to kill each other.
It's not our case.
Yeah,
we want to share music and passion and nice time with people.
With the new record, COVID had to color the album. It had to influence your songwriting and maybe your lyrical content quite a bit. Is that true?
Yes, it was inevitable because we compose the main part of the album during this time. So we were living the COVID experience. So it was maybe the main source for the lyrics and also for the music. Even that this album, it seems maybe still very happy, is a little bit more dark than the previous albums. For example, we are like in weddings in Romania. We start the albums and the concerts with the traditional instrumental song, very high speed with songs. And for this album, we started with really a rather melancholic song, a rather sad song, and it was clearly to give an intuition of the album. The name, for example, is New Boy in Town for the intro song, and the new boy is, of course, coronavirus.
Oh,
yes, it's the new boy that entering on the stage. And the video, if you saw the video is a metaphor of being in jail, as you said, in your own apartment.
Because Dirty Shirt is known for being a band that tries everything, many things, right? Folk music, metal, you name it, we're figuring out a way to do it. Does the band feel the weight of expectation to be unique or outside the box? Because I can't imagine Dirty Shirt being a band that plays traditional rock songs. You've always got to have a surprise coming.
Yeah, I think that this is a trademark, of course, of the band. But I think for me, as a music fan, I like to be surprised. Mm-hmm. If after 4 measures of the song, I already imagine all the rest, it's boring. So I need surprises, something that you were never thinking about that. So this happens also in our music. It's a trademark. And yes, it's a kind of pressure also. Sometimes, for example, when I compose a song and I have the main idea, I leave the song for several months, even years, and to complete it with a completely new idea that is really different from the other part. So this is also the fact that I compose the songs in many years. Mm-hmm. This makes that as they are time lapse between parts, that sometimes they are so contrasted. But of course, after the experience of several albums, we are combining all these crazy things. I think that it's also style, kind of thinking and feeling the music for me.
Is there one band that inspired you to take a chance, or were you just compelled from the very beginning to figure out, do whatever?
I think that just one band is difficult, but I think that the main sound, the main core of Dirty Shirt, it's rather new metal influences, new metal, hardcore, industrial. So a lot of Korn, a lot of System of a Down, but also, yes, of course, our riffs are really from this part. All the synth that I edit, I drew, is from with 9 Inch Nails influences, a lot of 9 Inch Nails and Rammstein also. Rage Against the Machine for the groove, also it's important, and for the bass style. Tool also, a lot of
I heard
Tool.
A lot of Tool. I do hear Tool.
Yes. Yeah. But I think this is the main core, I think, of the sound. This is the music that we like, that most of us, we are listening quite often. Also a little bit of Bring Me the Horizon, if you want.
Really?
So, yeah, of course. This modern sound, we got influences from Bring Me the Horizon, of course. Wow. And with this, let's say, hardcore, industrial, new metal basis, we added a lot of traditional East European traditional music and elements, and this adds, the metal. I think it's more, especially with industrial and hardcore influences, it's really cold music. It's aggressive. It's really on time with riffs, like this, and adding the East European touch, Romanian, Balkan, Gypsy music, adds something, a lot of heart, a lot of feelings, a lot of douceur kind of sweet things, and this contrast between the electric instruments with aggressive modern sound and the acoustic instruments with really warm and natural sound creates something that I think we arrived to a unique sound. This is why it's difficult to answer one band, because I don't think there is a band that sounds like us. Of course, there are other bands that are using modern metal music with traditional day music. For example, Bloody Wood, maybe from India. Mm-hmm. We are a Transylvanian, Balkan version of Bloody Wood, but with different influences, with different vision of the music.
Your music overall, no matter what I listen to, new or old, it's made for the stage. It's big and epic, and silly and intense and joyful. And that's the word I really wanted to use today, Mihai, is it's full, it's loaded with happiness and joy and hope.
Yes.
And so I would imagine your live show, I mean, I've seen videos, I've never seen you actually in person live, but I imagine your live show is where you excel.
I think that, the concerts are the final meaning of the music. Being on stage is the best moment. Of course, I love composing. I may being with the guys in studio, etc. But being on the stage with the public is the best moment that you can have as musicians. So, of course, naturally, I started to make the arrangements with the vision of a concert. Imagine when I do music, I'm imagining that I'm on the stage with people and we are sharing this. So yes, it's a lot of joy in our music, and probably we are better live than in studio. Many songs sounds better. If you compare the studio version with the live version, you will see that the sound is better because on stage we feel more natural. It's as you said, it's a lot of about honest, being honest on stage. And I think that the public is seeing that we are really happy to be there on the stage, and that we are sending a lot of feelings and emotion and energy to the public, and the public is giving us back. So it's fantastic.
You and I both know that being in a band is incredibly difficult because just being married, I don't want to ask you about your personal life, but I'm married, yes. Okay, just being married and having children, or just being married, is so hard because you have to focus on that one individual. You have to give love, not because you're waiting for love, but because giving love is the right thing, right?
Yes.
And music, it's the same thing. When we're on stage, we have to give that love to the audience, not because we expect it back, but we hope they love it so much that they can't wait to give it back, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
But you don't necessarily get that from your partners in the band.
It's complicated,
right?
Especially for a band that exists for 27 years.
Exactly.
The core at 5 main members are from the 90s in the band, so more than 20 years together. Yeah. And we are 8 people with really different backgrounds, different personalities, different visions. So it's complicated and it's difficult to manage. And imagine when we're adding the people from Transylvanian Folk Orchestra or Ensemble Transylvania, another big project that we made on it last years. So it's really crazy. Sometimes we were 30 people on tour. So to manage all this is crazy. But especially to come back to the main band, I think that it's very important to be transparent and to be friends, because if you are not friend in a band, it's difficult, especially being underground, not a mainstream band that can have big condition and a lot of money of this. So for us, it's only passion and being friends. I think this is really important. And also the democracy principles are the main rules in the band. Each time that we have to take a decision, we are voting, we are discussing, etc. And not at least a lot of bad jokes. really a lot. And the people, for example, from our families, when they are seeing how we are doing bad jokes between us, they are saying, you're crazy. How can you accept he's telling you this, etc. But it's a good strategy also to evacuate bad vibes. For example, if one get anger or nervous about the thing, the other starts to make jokes. Instead of, are you okay? Please calm down. No, we are joking. Oh, you're stupid, etc. So finally, he realized that it may be stupid, or it's the ego, or I don't know, something like this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, anything to get by, though, because, I mean, if you've been together for over 25 years now, then you figured out the trick, but you also know that in order to continue, you have to be able to blow off steam, and you have to be able to step away sometimes, that the stage isn't enough to make everything okay. And you know what I mean? And so take Rush, for example. when Neil was still alive, when the band came off stage, Neil would run off and get on his bike and ride away. Partly because he didn't want to be around fans, he wasn't comfortable, but he also wanted to separate himself very clearly from the band. This was his time. And how do you guys do that? I mean, I'm not saying you tour all the time, because I don't think you do. I think it's more like you do festivals and you do a few things here and there. But how do you deal with that frustration outside of Laughter? Do you travel separately?
So I think it's an advantage, but or an inconvenient. But we have jobs, most of us. Mm-hmm. We are working, so this give us a freedom to not having a big label with contract where you have to tour all the time to do only this. When you know that if you are not touring, you won't have money at home, etc. So we have this freedom that allows us to to don't have this pressure. So this is one reason. But secondly, I think that even that normally we are playing about 40 shows by year. So even for a not professional band, it's quite a lot. So we are doing also touring of 2 weeks or things like this, and of course festivals. But it happens that, for example, and what is important is that we are doing a lot of doing yourself in our band. We are really working a lot on management, on recording, audio production, video production, merchandising, design, etc. We are doing a lot of things by ourselves. So, but this work sometimes it's really hard to continue a long term. So it happens, as you said, that colleagues needed a time 1-2 years even that not be so involved in parts of the band. But we never had the need to not playing. For us, if we don't play a month, we are like junkies. I don't have my drug. I need to play. We have a joke in the band, something like this, that for a band, the concert, the shows are like the sex in a couple. So.
Yeah, this is your chance to feel good for a while.
So this is true, because after now, for example, after releasing the album, the video clips, there are a little bit of tension in the band. For the videos, we have sometimes we don't agree with the same results, etc. For the audio production, it's the same. But after one show, it's a good show. It's enough to forget all this and to feel again, the same energy, the same link between the members.
We have to talk about this new record now, because obviously that's why you're here anyway.
Yeah.
So the new record, Get Your Dose Now, it's wild, it's woolly, it's full of all the things that makes Dirty Shirt tick. It's the thing that makes you extraordinary. So if I could ask a simple question is what was the inspiration behind the record?
I think that there is no one inspiration like this. As I tried to explain before, when I compose, usually I compose without an instrument nearby. So it's in my head. When I have an idea, composing, usually when I compose, it's directly, almost all the instruments are there. But as I don't write the record or I don't make a record just instantly, usually I forget. I don't remember everything. But I am thinking that the best ideas are always coming back. Maybe 1 week later, maybe 1 year. It happened to me to use riffs that I composed 10 years before and never had their chance to come back. So I think that it works like this. For this album, it's the same. There were some parts of the songs that were composed years ago, others that were made just recently. For example, Canção Parti Noroku, the double track, which is really sad. The idea to start a song from the main theme of a traditional song, I had it 10 years ago, but never had the time to work on this. So now it was the time to do this song.
Wow. Okay. So that song, I love that song. I can't pronounce it, but I love it. So it's Canção Partit Noroku? Is that how it?
Când sont partit noroku.
Okay, I was close.
Close. Not bad.
So what, I didn't look it up. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't look it up. So what does that title mean?
When the luck was given to the people.
Oh, Okay.
So it's the lyrics are from a Romanian old traditional song. So it's kind of old Romanian language. It's a traditional language. It's not necessarily the literal one. And the song, it's about the fact that to be unlucky in life. So they are subtitles for the lyric video. If you add the subtitles, you can have the translation to understand.
Okay. Well, I didn't do that, so I'll check that out after this is over, because I do want to include it as part of our interview, because I really think it's a great piece. It's revelatory, and it very clearly sort of features everything that Dirty Shirt is about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so. For about this song, it was also in the studio very, very nice moments, because all the people felt the song in a very personal way, and all the musicians were really involved, especially in this song, especially the vocals, everyone.
Yeah, I counted, at least on the what's the term? The EPK, where it talks about, of course, the record and everything. It mentions 16 different performers on that one song. And I don't know if that's true, or, if I just maybe misread it, but I know there's the band, but then there's all these other side, the session musicians and what.
On this particular song, I think that there are 20 musicians, something like this. But what is something to understand is to recreate, for example, these orchestral sounds. Yeah. For example, for each violin melody, and there are 2 or 3, 4 melodies depending on the song, on the part. Our violin player recorded between 5 and 10 tracks. So only violins, we had 15 tracks. To imagine a bit
like
the
Queen.
Crazy thing. Yes, I think on this particular song we had about 200 tracks at the end.
Wow. Okay, so because you're a keyboardist, you know what I mean, player, do you then sample all of those tracks so you can actually play them live?
What are we doing? That we use a sampler for the traditional instruments. And if they cannot be live with us, they will be from the sampling directly. And of course, when we have, for example, if we have clarinet, we mute the clarinet sample, and he is playing live. Of course, we always have the violin, and the violin is the most important traditional solo instrument. So Cosmin is a member of the band, is not a collaborator. And for the sampling, I do, for example, in live, for all the electro sounds, I cannot I bring my computer with, 5 plugins where I combine 7 synths to make one sound. So what I'm doing, I'm sampling every note on my pad sample, and I play also live keyboards and the sampler.
Wow. So then, again, because I'm a drummer, I understand, of course, all the backgrounds and all the layers of everything going on. But is everything played along with a click track to coordinate? Okay, to coordinate the lights and everything.
Almost, not all songs, and not necessarily entire song. For example, if we need the click for the first and second chorus, and for the ending we don't need it, we cut it. We leave free. There are also songs that we are playing without click, but most of them they are with click. Or for example, intros are free, and then we put the click, or we have a part when we stop the click, and etc. It's a mix.
Wow. That has to be so hard. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I understand rehearsal, great musicianship and rehearsal. Those are the things that are required to be in your band. I get that.
But no, we don't do a lot of rehearsals. This is a big problem, because we live in many cities from Romania, and I'm in France. So imagine that for this tour, the guys, they made 3 or 4 weekends together. That's all.
Yeah, but they are still practicing at home. It's not like they didn't show up ready. They're ready.
They will be ready. Yeah. Of course.
Wow. So are you then the main? I mean, I don't want to necessarily make you uncomfortable. There's so many people in the band, but are you the main guy when it comes to writing the core of the material?
Yes. Usually, how it works. Like I said, I have ideas. Some part, 10% arrive to be recorded to make some instrumental demo at home. I have a mini home studio, of course, like any musician today. I send the ideas to my colleagues. They are working, they bringing new things, and then we start to record. I start to add all layers of traditional instruments, acoustic instruments, and usually sometimes I have clear ideas and I write the scores. But very often I leave freedom to to the other artists, because sometimes they can have ideas I never thought about this. And this is why there are many surprises also in our music, because also I got surprised. For example, the trumpet player, he did a thing. This is great. Let's do it, For example, the violin solo from Pretty Faces is made by Caliu, a really, really prestigious gypsy violin player from Romania. And there, for example, it was free. I said, okay, we need a solo with this kind of ambience, with this ambience. And after that, I let him record. I think he made between 10 and 15 takes. And after that, at home, when I did arrangements, I took the parts that I felt that are contributing, that are working well with all the other instruments. So it's working a lot of like this with, going in both direction. I give, I receive. So it's like this.
Well,
but what is complicated when we play with the bigger version of the bands, now we have to put everything on scores, all the arrangements. And sometimes we need to adapt arrangements for live versions with big orchestra, because they cannot stay, 4 songs doing nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we need to reimagine all the songs with these new versions, sometimes writing new parts for the new instruments without having the instrument. It took a lot of time to prepare all this.
I'm not a songwriter, so I can't necessarily relate. I'm an arranger. I think this is kind of the nature of being a drummer. We're hearing things and we're saying, what about trying this idea? But we're not writing the song from the ground up typically.
Generally, right. Yes.
Right. So all that being said, I can't fathom that your material is so multi-genre and it has tempo changes and thematic changes. I can't imagine that your brain is thinking of all of these things and putting them together. But I mean, what you're telling me is you're probably putting together 85% of it, and everybody else is contributing little ideas and quirks and little sonic movements, but you're bringing the core.
Yeah, I think maybe 70% me. For example, we are working for the lyrics with Mathieu from ZGZ, a French band. We are working with him for the last 2 albums. And for example, also he's adding his French touch on the vocal lines, because, for example, I'm talking with him. I say, okay, for this part, we will need the Robbie on the back like this. Robbie's one of the vocals, etc. And I give him the freedom to adapt my first ideas to his lyrics, because if I give him the melody from the beginning, the constraints for the lyrics and the melodicity of the lyrics is really strong. So I let him, okay, go wild. And sometimes he had the ideas that I wasn't able to imagine this. For example, this kind of American even touch for some parts of the vocals is from him. I don't do this. It's not my style of doing vocal lines,
I'm sitting here talking to you and I'm watching you, and you have this giant smile on your face.
Okay. Always.
This is a good thing. You clearly love being a part of the business. You love the music. You love the creation. You love talking about it. You wouldn't be here.
I love music. Yeah, right. I love music. I started piano when I had 7 years old. So from that time, I was good in music when I was kid, and I really enjoyed composing, imagine arrangements, all this from an early age.
I was nurtured really well as a child. My parents got behind me as a musician and they encouraged me. One of the stories I tell often is about my mother used to play classical music, and she would sit me down in front of paper with some crayons and she would say, draw what the music creates in your head. Show me.
Nice.
right?
Nice.
And I'm curious, how did you grow up? What was it like being a little boy in your, around your family?
So to see first the context, when I was a little boy, Romania was communist in one of the worst dictatorial system in the world in that time. So it was not funny. It was not funny at all, etc. From this point of view. But in my family, I was really lucky to have really nice parents. My father was a teacher of mathematics, and my mother worked at the library. So my father also played in a band, in a wedding band, in a rock band too, and my grandfather played violin also. So let's say that there is a tradition in the family, and this is why they pushed me to the music at very early age, 7 years old, and they bought a piano for me. So I was lucky, and also I think it helped me the fact that I was around me. There was a lot of music, as my father played music, and also even that Romania was in a communist country, I had the luck to listen to some good music, because in the 70s it was possible to Romania to have some music from the West. So, for example, I discovered Beatles and this kind of music quite early. So it was nice. I had a good basis.
You've already said growing up at that time was very, very difficult because of the dictatorships and the way the former Soviet Union sort of influenced where you were. But what were some great things about being a child in an Eastern Bloc country? There had to be something good.
Of course. First, the people were really connected because we had to face the same enemy, So the people were helping each other. It was more solidarity in the society. And also, for me as a kid, it was a happy childhood because, for example, all the summers I went to my grandmother village to stay with the kids all day out, playing from 10 in the morning until midnight, because there was no internet, no cars, no stress, no killers, no information, etc. We felt really safe. So it was this was really nice. But the problem for me, for example, especially that I was kind of more extroverted kid with a lot of energy, that this kind of personality didn't fit with the very strict and very sharp style of the communism period. So from this point of view, for me, it was not nice. At the school, for example, once I had the hair until till here, and they cut my hair in the front of all the school.
Oh my God, that's awful.
Yeah. And my father was my teacher, and he did nothing because he couldn't do what to do. Okay, these are the rules. And at that period, it was not my case, but all the system, it was really, really, really bad from that time.
Wow.
Imagine that in the 80s, Romania, it was the worst country in Eastern Europe, worse than Soviet Union, worse than any other. Ceausescu, the leader at that time, got really crazy at the end. And it was the only country that changed the regime with a real revolution, with thousands of people died, etc.
Yeah. No, I remember Ceausescu very well, sadly. But it makes all of this makes sense though, Mihai, because it makes sense to who you are now. You live in joy because you know better. You know better. And I love that. I love that so much. I love that you didn't run to France. You went because you were in prison. We talked about COVID earlier. You, my friend, you were in prison for the first part of your life. So you were finally allowed to escape and have normalcy and health and happiness. And that makes me so happy that you get experience.
It's incredible the fact that Romania entered in European Union. So this changed completely the situation. I can imagine that if Romania was in the Ukrainian situation with no EU, no NATO, we could be attacked really easy. Especially that is a strategic point to the Danube, to the Black Sea, etc. So we are really lucky to live in Europe, and as you said, our big concern is, okay, I will drink this evening a bottle of couple of wine or a beer. This is my bad choice for this evening, and other people are living really, really, really difficult times.
Yeah.
And not only in Ukraine now, but it was Afghanistan before. It was
Somalia.
Somalia, of course, Rwanda before it, many, Venezuela, etc., etc.
This is such a joy to talk to you. I know I use that word a lot lately and express that about you, but the reality is, Western culture, we're so used to having what we want, which sounds appealing from a distance, but it's not always a good thing. And our children, they get video games and big TVs, and they grow up and they get cars, and there's all this expectation in Western culture. And what I love about Eastern culture, of which I'm lumping you in, so I apologize if that's offensive. I hope it's not.
No, it's not at all. No,
is that you have, to me, discovered the sweet spot between work ethic and difficulty and joy and contentment, and it's all built around your culture and your families. And that is extraordinary because we don't have that. And I think when fans see you on stage, they see a group of 8 to 10 to 20 people, however many are with you that day, and they see those people up there enjoying themselves, playing music that showers down on us. And you give us so much hope and you inspire us because we want what you have. We actually want what you have, which is internal, real, true passion and love and joy. And that's why Dirty Shirt works. That's why you work, my friend. And I guess that's all I really wanted to say today is you guys bring the eccentric, you bring the fun, you bring the crazy, but you're so exciting. And I think the only answer is exactly. You are exactly those things. And so I hope you know what a blessing you are to me as a fan and as a new friend.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think that it's really nice to hear what you're saying. And I think one of the most important reasons they are doing this is exactly for what are you saying. And I agree with you, the fact that the people from the East Europe, we have, especially from our generation and older, that we knew two words, more different words. We have a comparison. The Western people, they don't have a comparison to know how good is for us now, They didn't leave the worst situation to say, okay, I don't have my video game tonight, is not so bad, So I think for us, this helps us to enjoy a little bit more what we are living now. Yeah. And also we are a generation that we had several revolutions. We had the communist revolution, the revolution after the communism. Then it was internet revolution. For me, coming in France, it was a little revolution because I changed of culture. Of course, it was after 11 September revolution that changed the face of the world. It was COVID. It was now Ukraine. So the things are changing really, really rapidly. And the fact that we have a basis like this can help us to understand and to finally enjoy what we have.
You've overcome a lot, and I'm sorry, I'm sort of repeating myself, but I want to.
But just to one thing, I feel that I'm a really lucky guy because I have really nice family. I didn't have big tragedies in my family. Okay, I lived the communism with the restriction, the period that, for example, for us, eating a chocolate, it was a dream. Of course, I was drinking Pepsi once by year, so I was drinking 5 or 6 Pepsis once because it was the once by year. So okay. This influenced us, but I'm a lucky guy. I didn't live in a war zone. I didn't face extreme poverty.
So then, really, the answer is you kept yourself separate, but you also were grateful for everything you experienced. You grew up in a moderately safe place. And you just learned how to be grateful for everything that you had.
Yeah. And I think it helped me a lot, the fact that I moved to France, because the French culture and the French society, I really felt like a fish in the water here, especially the post-communist period in Romania. It was more conservative society, still with a lot of influences after the communism. So I felt really more free in France than in Romania at that time.
Mm-hmm. Well, Mihai, thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
I am stunned by you, and I love your band. And
nice to meet you too.
I wish nothing but the very best for you, my friend.
Thank you. See you soon. Huh?